Hello there.
Hello.
So we thought we'd do a little bit of a revisit of our trip, or a highlights thing of our trip, I guess, isn't it?
Indeed,
Really?
yep.
About what we've spent, what we enjoyed,
Yep.
and what we do differently next time.
Yep, just our general thoughts and
Yeah.
other bits and pieces, indeed.
I mean, we absolutely loved Scandinavia, didn't we?
Absolutely. You can probably tell from the videos, if
Yeah.
you've seen any of the videos. Yeah, absolutely. The word we used on a regular basis was stunning. And it really was.
Norway particularly was
It was.
amazing, wasn't it?
It was.
So absolutely loved the trip. And now we're going to talk to you about some of the costs that we incurred to do this trip. So we were away for a total of 84 nights.
Which included, 2 nights in the UK.
So it was a night on the way there and a night on the way back, wasn't
Yep,
it?
we spent both at Black Horse Farm.
Yeah, which
at
is a
Folkestone.
caravan and motorhome club site just near Folkestone.
Yep, which was very
Eurotunnel
useful.
terminal. It was very handy. So yeah, we were away for a total of 84 nights and we spent about £5,500, which sounds like quite a lot, but actually if you break it down, that's £66 a night, which I don't think is too bad.
No, I don't either.
Because we didn't cut corners at all.
No, we did everything we wanted to do.
We did. And you won't be surprised to know that the majority of that money was spent on diesel. Because that was our biggest expense by quite a long way, wasn't it?
We did a lot of miles, but
we did do a lot of miles.
But
yeah.
we did drive from Cornwall all the way up to the very most northern part of Europe, effectively.
We did, yeah.
So yes, and sometimes we didn't go round in circles, but we did the same bit a couple of times.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could have probably saved a bit of money there. But yeah, nearly £2,000 on fuel.
Yep. And the second most expensive thing was food and drink, which was about £1,500. But again, we ate out when we wanted to, we drank out when we wanted to, and when we went to the supermarket, we just had what we wanted, didn't we, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't scrimp on that either. And because it was a holiday, so we didn't want to.
No.
And one of the things that we did spend a bit of money on was camping, and that was about £700. And actually, with hindsight, we wouldn't probably have spent nearly that much, would we? We
wouldn't, but that does include 2 nights in the UK.
Yes.
It does include 5 nights in the Netherlands.
Where it's illegal to wild park.
And the thing is, we actually spent the majority of our time in campsites by big cities. So we spent 3 nights, was it, in Bergen?
3 nights in Bergen.
Couple of nights.
3 nights in Stockholm.
Yeah.
And a couple of nights in Copenhagen. 3 nights in Copenhagen
Yeah.
as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
So yes, we did spend that's the majority of where we spent. We would, as Jill said, we would less campsite. We would actually go to more wild parking. I think to begin with, we didn't know just how easy, how fabulous the wild parking was.
We didn't.
Especially in Norway. It was just amazing,
But I do
wasn't
think
it?
if you want to do washing, you do need to go to a campsite, and
Yep.
that's just one of those things, you periodically you probably need to go to a campsite to do your washing.
Yep.
And top up your tanks or whatever.
Yep.
But on the wild parking, what we did notice was that actually in Sweden and Denmark, it is much harder to find a wild parking spot that isn't already rammed with people.
It is, yes. And again, we don't know if that's because of the time of year. So we started this trip at the very, very beginning of May. So I think we left actually on the 30th of April.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So May was fabulous. There weren't many people around at all.
No.
Once we got to the Lofton Islands, which was about June-ish, it became a bit more busy. But once we'd actually got past the Lofton Islands, it became quiet again in Norway.
It was pretty busy around the North Cape.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I guess so. But it would be interesting to see just how busy it would be in Sweden in May. Don't know.
Yeah.
So one of the things we would do differently is we would actually probably go a month earlier. The reason we didn't go a month earlier was the fact that we were told that not much was open in April. But if you're wild camping, it doesn't matter.
As long as you've got a supermarket and a very odd campsite where you can top up or whatever,
Yep.
that's fine, isn't it, really?
Yep, it doesn't matter at all.
No.
So,
and actually in Norway as well, particularly, they had so much provision for topping up your tanks and emptying your loos and things. That was all free anyway.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to go into campsites to do that.
No.
So if you don't, a lot of the campsites weren't open, but actually you could go to a laundrette to do your laundry as well. If
You could have
wanted
done.
to, couldn't you?
Yeah. So yes, we would actually probably, given it again, and we may well do it again because we loved it so much, we would go a month earlier. So we would go beginning of April rather than the end of April.
Yeah, definitely.
continuing with our costs of things. So we spent £700, as we say, on camping. Our next biggest expense was actually tickets and entertainment, where we spent nearly £600. So that would have been going on the boat,
On the fjord.
on the fjord. That would be
Hardanger Fjord.
yeah, that would be various bits and pieces like that. Going to museums, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which again,
Money well spent.
yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Other than that, our tolls were £150. The ferry, which was basically included all our ferries that we did, plus the ferry from Denmark to Norway, was a total of £410, which I think is an absolute bargain.
Yeah. And most of that, I mean, £250 of that was a ferry from Denmark to Norway, wasn't it? So yeah, it was a complete bargain, I think.
Yes.
And every ferry apart from one was included with our ferry pass, wasn't it?
Yes. So that's one of the high recommendations. Get a ferry pass.
Yeah, definitely.
Worth every penny. Really is.
Definitely.
And it just saves time, saves
Yeah.
effort to actually get onto the boat. Literally, they come along, they scan your number plate.
And they
If you've
say,
got a
"Yep,
ferry
okay."
tag, you're on.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, well worth doing.
Yeah.
We did save a bit of money by when we went to the Lofoten's, by basically not going to the main islands in the Lofoten's to begin with. We went to
I can't remember what it's called. Was it A?
the island wasn't called A, was it? No.
I can't remember.
We'll put it in the thing at the bottom.
Yeah.
But basically, we went there first, which meant that the ferry to the Lofton Islands was completely free. Didn't need to pay for that at all.
Which was about £500 otherwise.
It was a lot of money.
It was about a lot of money for something Henry size. It's about £550, I think it was. So we basically went to a smaller island to start with, camped the night there, and then took the ferry from there to the main part of the Lofoten's, and that was definitely a really good idea. And it was a nice little island.
It was a lovely little island.
We did nice to walk to the top there as well, didn't we? So
it was a lovely little island. But we did book that ferry.
Yeah, we did.
To
a couple
make
of weeks
sure.
in advance.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a long queue at the ferry port, and people wouldn't have got on if they hadn't have booked. So that was well worth booking.
It was, yeah, absolutely. Most other ferries were not a problem, were they? There was one ferry out to Senja, which was a bit of an issue. We didn't get on the first ferry, but we did get. We did get on the first ferry. And when we got to the other side, there was about 100 campervans, wasn't there, waiting to come across. And they were going to have. There was only 2 ferries a day. Some of them were going to have to wait 2 or 3 days. We thought, didn't we?
Yes, exactly.
Because they could only get on 25 vans on a
yeah,
ferry.
something like that.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely mad.
It was madness, but there you go. That's an aside, isn't it?
It is indeed.
The other thing about going when we did was that when we got to Sweden, or we came back through Finland and Sweden, and the mosquitoes were unbearable. I mean, we were eaten alive for a couple of nights.
You were eaten alive.
I was eaten alive for a couple of nights. And yeah, I think if we'd been earlier, they wouldn't have been nearly so bad.
No.
But you know, you live and learn, don't you? Really.
You do indeed. So, is Henry a good size? Basically, we saw everything from a VW Caddy, very small.
Like a car, basically.
Yeah, like a car. We saw a number of people in Volvo estates.
We did, yeah.
Especially, we saw anyone from VW Caddy to a Henry size camper van, to bigger camper vans, to small motorhomes.
To huge motorhomes. There was a Morello Princess, I think it was called, which is basically a coach.
It is.
It was a coach, and it was enormous. Well, we saw 2 or 3 of those actually, didn't
we?
Enormous things, and that would really restrict where you could go if you had one of those.
Very much
we were talking to the woman who was driving it, and she did say she has to book into campsites, or she has to know where she's going, because she can't just rock up anywhere.
Yeah.
Which would be a real shame, I think.
Yeah, some of the places we went to, you wouldn't have got much bigger than a Henry-sized camper van down there.
No.
Maybe the next size up, but realistically, and those were probably some of the best places because they were so quiet and there was just nobody around at all.
Yeah, definitely.
It was amazing, that kind of thing, wasn't it?
It
Where
was.
you could just go and be the only people there.
And we would love to go back, I think, wouldn't we?
Oh, definitely.
As I say, we'd go a bit earlier, but it was fantastic, and I think it was definitely money well spent. And I don't think £5,500 for 84 nights is too bad at all, to be honest.
No, not at all.
We didn't scrimp and save, and we had a great time.
Had a lovely time. So, what are we up to next? Well, we're home for about 5 days. Once we have done that, we're then going to go and see friends and relatives for 7 days, and we're then going up to Yorkshire.
We are. So watch this space for a couple of Yorkshire videos, hopefully.
Yep. And then we're home for about a week. And then we're going to see Jill's mother. And
Because it's her birthday.
and after that, we are going to do the Northumberland 250. And from there up to Scotland. So we're going to spend a couple of months in Scotland.
We are, and then we're coming back in November, aren't we, to go to London for a week or so?
Yep.
It's because we have people living in the house, which is absolutely fine. But it does mean that we don't want to be in the house particularly because it's not fair on them.
So basically, I've also got to work in
Oh, no.
December.
Not
which
work,
is,
not
I
real
know,
working.
it's ridiculous. So yeah, that's happening in December, and we've got some plans for next year as well.
We have.
So yeah, we would love to go back to Scandinavia, but it won't be for a couple of years because we've got plans to do other things, which is great.
We have.
So
Watch this space.
indeed, indeed.